The Department of Public Works is looking to start making some improvements to Barnstable Village. And using the parking meters at Bismore Park will be a little easier this summer. Plus, we find out how the Hyannis Marathon went over the weekend with Police Chief Paul McDonald. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, February 25th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mannel. The town of Barnstable will soon install 4 new parking meters at Bismore Park. Richard Scally, Interim Director of Regulatory Services, says the meters will make it easier for residents and visitors to park along the busy harbor.
We have 4 parking kiosks down at Bismore that have been there for a number of years, and as you know, the technology changes quite frequently, and we're replacing those 4 kiosks this spring. We just completed our bidding process, and we selected a company. And we've gone for our appropriation before the town council, which they've approved. And hopefully the process should bring greater options of customers using the kiosks, being able to read the instructions much clearer. There'll be awnings over these machines so to cover the people from the weather and make it look much more attractive than it is now. It'll offer many options to people too, with clearer credit card options, options to pay by phone in the future. So it should be much better for the tourist and the consumer that comes to the harbor.
Scally says they are anticipating the transition to begin sometime in April and hope to have the meters up and running for the start of the summer. The Department of Public Works is working with the Barnstable Village Civic Association to make improvements to Main Street. Director Dan Santos says it's part of something they do around town on a regular basis.
We work closely with growth management to look at the infrastructure within the village centers and how it can be improved and take advice and recommendations. And in this case, we've been working closely with the Barnstable Village Civic and Business Association on some improvements, primarily safety. I think at this point they're looking at are the sidewalks adequate? Is there adequate lighting, crosswalks, and things like that? So one of the things they've come up with there is there's a concern, as you hear throughout town in a lot of the villages where people are shopping and walking and the streets are narrow, is that people are speeding and they want to slow traffic down. And so that's one of the things that we've spent a lot of time talking about. And currently, we have some of the flashing speed signs at each end of the village. We've met with Sergeant McKenna and the police department to speak with them about what ideas they might have about slowing down traffic and having more of an enforcement presence, if that's appropriate, and better signage. So we're working on that. As far as other safety improvements, sidewalks. Making sure that they're flat and level. 20 years ago, there was a project in Barnstable Village, and this has been going on a long time to improve the village. They put brick sidewalks in, and they have the names in the bricks, and that's all very nice. People have liked that, but over time, they kind of, as bricks do, they can heave and dip, and so we're going to fix some of that up.
Santos says maintaining the village character and charm will be a top priority.
If there's any new sidewalks, they'll match what's there, and if there's any repair, it'll be with the same material. The other big thing that they're interested in is lighting. I think there's lighting in the village for safety, but the folks that are involved, they're looking for more of an atmosphere lighting or an ambiance lighting with nice light fixtures spread out throughout the village, so that if you're strolling through there, it kind of improves the atmosphere. The one thing that you're not really addressing now, and I think has been talked about forever, and I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but most people that go to Barnstable Village notice, is the overhead wires in Barnstable Village. It's like a rat's nest. They're very prominent and really distracting from the whole environment. One of the things they love, and people have talked about it, like I said, forever, is how do you get those underground? And I'm not sure at this round of improvement that's going to happen, but it's certainly something that they'll continue to talk about and If you've ever been in a neighborhood where there's underground utilities, getting those wires underground is a vast improvement, to the overall look and feel of a place.
Santos expects some small improvements to begin this spring, while some of the larger capital projects will be spread out over the next few years. Residents driving through town over the weekend may have noticed some increased traffic. The annual Hyannis Marathon was held Sunday and created some headaches for drivers. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin talked about the issue and what changes could be made with Police Chief Paul McDonald. We share a portion of that interview with you now.
Chief, this weekend, thousands of runners descended on Hyannis for the annual Hyannis Marathon. How did things go this weekend? The weather was good for runners.
The weather was great. I think as far as the runners were concerned, they had a great day. It was a very successful event. However, on our side of it, we did have several complaints from a lot of the residents, particular residents south of South Street, Hyannisport, and along the avenues off of Craigwood Beach Road. This event has grown to such a proportion where now probably rivals the Falmouth Road Race. It's a marathon. It's probably one of the last qualifying marathons for the Boston Marathon. So it's not just a local event, it's a national event. So anyone who has not yet qualified uses this road race to qualify, and we have a huge turnout. The numbers I saw look like registered runners were about 4,800 runners, and then you have several hundred other bandit runners who also come in and they just want to participate in a road race, but they haven't actually registered. So this clogs the roadways up. It starts on Scudder Avenue, right in front of the hotel there, and proceeds down South Street. And when the road race first starts, there are several roads that, although officially we do not shut down any roads, most of the roads are so congested the traffic cannot get through them at all. So it caused quite a logistic nightmare for the police department, and unfortunately a lot of people were inconvenienced.
Absolutely, and I've been in that area during the race before, and you're absolutely right. Anyone who lives anywhere on the course really can't get out of their driveway while those runners are in the area.
They can't, and they're tied up for between 2 and 4 hours. We purposely went out. We used the code red reverse 911 call Thursday and Friday to let people know the road race was going to take place. We put some signboards up along to let people know 2 or 3 days in advance that this particular area where the road race was going to occur. You could expect some slowdown in the traffic. We notified the radio station. We notified Cape Cod Times. Cape Cod Times put it in the paper. We did as much notification as we possibly could. However, we still ran into several congestion points, and we're working on it. Hopefully, we can work with the road race officials and try to find some way where we can alleviate these bottlenecks.
Absolutely, and certainly, as you say, Chief, the event has grown significantly over the years with people. It's not just a Cape Cod race. It's something that, as you say, attracts people really from all sorts of places. Not just New England, but even farther on that. So, in terms of any ways to make changes, any ways to kind of mitigate it, I mean, aside from changing the course, are there any suggestions that you have?
Changing the course could be tough. Changing the day is a possibility. From Sunday to Saturday. Sunday is a pretty busy day because of the churches. Everybody wants to go to church, and the race route covers a lot of the same roadways that you would use to go to church. So that's a problem. Another huge part, I think, is the educational piece for some of the runners. A lot of them are used to running road races where the roads are literally shut down. So therefore, I think they're on the assumption that these roads here are also shut down. So they're running in the middle of the roads. We had like a 40-man detail out there, and we spent most of the time directing the runners to run on the side of the road, not to block the entire roadway, because we did not shut down any of the roads.
Exactly. Is there a thought maybe to next year put up some cones and kind of create a chute for the runners to go through?
There are several cones. If you go around along West Main Street, along Route 28, you'll see that's exactly what we did. But when the race first starts, where they all leave and they're all jockeying for that coveted position where they can get the speed, it's going to be real tough. But that only lasts for 10 or 15 minutes. That part we can handle. That part we can close down. But once the pack starts to thin out a little bit, we have individual runners that are still running in the middle of the roadway. They think they have the right away on the roadway, and that's causing significant problems. So there's a little more we can do ourselves as law enforcement. We can work with the race organizers, but also the runners themselves. They have to work with us and with the motoring public.
McDonald says the department will continue to meet with race organizers to improve traffic during next year's Hyannis Marathon. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.